The only thing he ever wished for was to be happy, to fall in love one day, to laugh with good friends, and to live an utterly ordinary school life. That was all he had ever asked for. But reality had other plans. On Monday, he was beaten up. On Tuesday, toilet water was dumped on his head. On Wednesday, his personal photos were leaked online. On Thursday, he found himself planning his permanent journey to the metaphysical world. Today was Friday. As he stood on the rooftop edge, the wind plucking at his uniform, he thought, surely from this height it would be fatal. Yet a desperate, illogical part of him wondered if he might survive. If he landed in the bushes far below, perhaps he just needed to calculate his trajectory. Hey, there's someone else here too. The voice, light and casual, sliced through his dark thoughts. Panic rushed through him. He hadn't thought anyone would be here. What was he supposed to do now? He glanced quickly and saw a girl turn halfway towards him, her curiosity clearly piqued. "Wait," he began, terrified she would call for help. What she did next stole the breath from his lungs. With a swift, fluid motion, she snatched something from the rooftop floor. A bird. She held it up, its black feathers stark against her pale hand. "A crow," she said. "Its body has been lying here." Her eyes sparkled with an odd mix of excitement and sadness. Then her gaze settled on him, seeing right through him. "Is it your wish to be as alive as this crow? Because if you're planning to go through with your jump, it would be much better to hand your life over to me instead." He was too stunned to speak. Dying was a great waste, she insisted. There were still so many fun things to experience. Her words ignited a spark of anger. "You don't know anything about me. You can't just say what's best for my life." He assumed she was another tormentor, here to mock his misery. But the girl shook her head, her expression earnest. "That's not why I'm here. I want to give your life a better purpose." She let the words hang before continuing. "What comes to mind when you look at this crow? Did you find its lifeless body cute?" He grimaced. "Not even slightly beautiful." "To my surprise, I agree. It's just a stinking, rotten pile of garbage." "Garbage." Her voice was steady, surgical. "That's exactly how you're treated at school, isn't it? Like an idiot, like human trash. That crow is in a better place than you are. It only became garbage after its death. You, on the other hand, are a piece of garbage even while alive." Her words struck him like a physical slap. Was that truly what he was? Is that why you want to end your own existence? He nodded, the weight crushing. "What do you intend with all this?" he whispered. She still hadn't tried to pull him back. Framing him between her fingers as if taking a picture, she asked, "Would you really be okay with being trash for the rest of your life?" The question ignited a fire. Deep down, a part of him screamed no. He wanted a normal life, friends, laughter. Even though having a girlfriend felt impossible, he longed to live the best days of his youth. The girl saw the shift in his eyes. She climbed onto the railing, leaning closer, her own eyes blazing. "I can guarantee you a life like that," she declared, leaving him stunned. "If you're interested in finishing your years at school, hand control of your life over to me. You'll become my puppet, and only then will you be happy." It was absurd, yet he was intrigued. "And since you want a girlfriend," she added, "if you really become my puppet, I wouldn't mind helping you with that." "Do you wish for that to happen?" she asked, her gaze unwavering. "That's not what I want," he stammered, hesitant. Suddenly, she grabbed him by the knot of his tie. "We're doing this now," she exclaimed, and jumped, pulling him with her. As they fell, the ground rushing up, her voice was in his ear. "If we both survive, you become my puppet." In those fleeting seconds, his whole miserable life flashed by. The humiliations, the powerlessness, the silent prayers for his tormentors to rot in hell. Then, impact. A crash through brittle branches, a sharp pain exploding in his arm. He lay in the bushes, agonizing, certain his arm was broken. Beside him, the girl smiled, unfazed. "See? The fall wasn't dangerous enough to end our lives." She gently grabbed his shoulders. "From now on, you're my puppet. It's time we start understanding each other better. Imagine yourself as a remote control car." He still didn't understand her, but for her it was simple. She was tired of living her own life, so she would control someone else's, crafting it perfectly. Kneeling before him, she swore she would lead him to a perfect, happy life, but only if he obeyed. Could I truly be happy? He wondered. If it were possible, he didn't mind being a puppet. Happiness was all he desired. Sensing his capitulation, she smiled. "Good. Here is your first command for a happy life." She leaned in, her face inches from his. "Close your eyes." He complied, heart hammering. Then she kissed him, softly, deeply, as if they were lovers. Of all possibilities, this one had never crossed his mind. She pulled back. A kiss releases hormones like oxytocin, the happiness hormone. It induces euphoria. One of my goals is for all my puppets to be happy. A story with a happy ending is always better to watch. But to achieve that, you must obey every command. If you ever rebel, I will break you. A chill ran down his spine, yet her certainty was a strange comfort. Now, another command. Share one of your desires. What would you wish for if you met a magic genie? After a long moment, the truest, darkest wish spilled out. I would want to take revenge on everyone who bullied me. Her eyes lit up with fierce excitement. Excellent! You've done very well. Now I will fulfill it. She patted his head. I will make this wish come true. The day passed and he returned home, lying in bed with his arm bandaged from the injury he sustained in the fall. He thought about the girl and decided she was just a weirdo. Even though she said she would fulfill his wish, nothing had changed. It would have been better if he had just died. Looking back, he realized that since his first day at school, nothing had gone well. It was hard to believe he had been bullied for such trivial things. His life really didn't seem worth anything at all. As he lay there, he wished that tomorrow would never come, but he knew he had to go back to school. When he arrived, he found the chair he sat in was completely vandalized. Someone said they couldn't believe he had come back. The boy sneered. The trash is making the whole room stink. Another was surprised that he had broken his arm. I guess you must have fallen and felt a lot of pain, the bully taunted. He wanted to write something on the cast of his arm, but didn't know what to write. Knowing he was about to be humiliated, he didn't let the guy write anything. After that reaction, the boy seemed to lose interest. You're such a buzzkill. Just go sit down already, he said dismissively. However, that behavior wasn't normal, leaving him thoughtful as he made his way to his seat. Just then, someone shouted that they would show the others something really cool. The guy who said it always did whatever he wanted, and as expected, he kicked the boy from behind. The force of the impact sent him crashing to the ground, dragging some desks and chairs along with him. The jerk bragged about his clean and well-executed kick, looking around for validation. Did anyone record that? He asked, and one of his friends chimed in that they had. They all laughed, entertained by the recording, saying it turned out really cool. Meanwhile, the boy who had been assaulted stood back up, a clear sign that he was ready for round 2. This time, the jerk planned to use his fists. Before the assault could continue, a girl entered the classroom, drawing everyone's attention. It was the same girl who had interacted with him the other day. She wanted to know what they were doing, but the jerk immediately found her very attractive. Interested, he asked which class she belonged to. The person who seemed to be the teacher explained that the girl was part of this class, since she was a transfer student. He was surprised to learn she was a transfer student, even more so when he saw her waving at him. Upon hearing this, the jerk questioned why the teacher hadn't informed him earlier. The girl replied that she had announced it during the previous day's assembly. Realizing he had missed that, the jerk apologized for not listening and, being polite, asked for the girl's name. She introduced herself as Tomatakubo and wrote her name on the blackboard. Approaching the jerk, she said it was a pleasure to meet him. Seeing that even her name was beautiful, he wanted her phone number. To his delight, she shared it without hesitation, using a QR code. The jerk added her to his friend list, expressing his wish for them to get along. The protagonist observed the interaction with a mix of sadness and disbelief, until Tomatakubo looked at him with interest. "What's your name?" she asked, walking over to him and completely ignoring the jerk. She mentioned that she had missed the chance to ask his name the other day. "What's your name?" she asked, walking over to him and ignoring the jerk completely. She mentioned she'd missed the chance to ask his name the day before. He stuttered a little before answering, "Kudo." "That's a very nice name," she said, smiling brightly. "I'm happy to have met you." To the jerk, the fact that the girl showed any interest in Kudo was a sign she had something loose in her head. He began sharing embarrassing stories about Kudo. Walking up to him, "Why should I care about that?" Tamada asked, her tone genuine. "In my honest opinion, it sounds like you're about to tell a very boring story." She looked at the teacher, asking where her seat was. The teacher informed her she would be sitting next to Kudo. For her, this was definitely fate, and she was thrilled at the chance to sit beside him. The jerk, watching everything unfold like a spectator, was left speechless. He was completely unable to understand why Tamada had chosen the other guy, Kudo, and not him. In his mind, Kudo was just a loser who had stepped in dog poop. It felt surreal that she would pick him over someone like himself. This couldn't be happening. Fueled by jealousy, he pulled out his phone, ready to humiliate Kudo. Once again, he planned to invite the new girl to the virtual class group and post a video of Kudo being humiliated during lunch break. As the lunch bell rang, Kudo and Tamada decided to eat together. Kudo hesitated, wanting to know if she couldn't eat with someone else, but Tamada refused. After all, this was the perfect opportunity for a strategic meeting. As he munched on his sandwich, he still didn't fully grasp what she was suggesting. Sensing his confusion, she asked if he had completely forgotten what had happened the day before. "We're going to get revenge on everyone who bullied you," she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. She told him she had been invited to join the class's virtual group and even showed him the invitation. Among the videos, there was one of Kudo being humiliated. The jerk, who had been so eager for Tamada's attention, was clearly upset about being rejected. As Kudo watched the video of himself being humiliated, he felt a wave of shame wash over him. "Please don't watch that," he pleaded. But Tamada shrugged it off. "There's no need to react like that. I've already seen it," she replied casually. "I feel embarrassed when I'm naked too." Kudo's frustration grew. The situation was truly miserable. "You shouldn't have watched it," he snapped, feeling humiliated all over again. To her, it might have been a simple embarrassment, but for him, it was much worse. It was something he didn't want anyone to see. "Is that truly what you wish for?" she asked, tilting her head. "Wasn't that video published on a public platform?" He confirmed it definitely wasn't in the group. She smiled, her eyes glinting. "If that's the case, we could post the original video ourselves." She smiled, her eyes glinting with mischief. "If that's the case, we could post the original video ourselves." The suggestion was absurd. Kudo was horrified. No one in their right mind would do something so humiliating, he thought. Had she even heard him? He hated that video. "Is it your wish that the video wouldn't go viral?" she asked, her tone serious. He nodded. That was what he wanted. Knowing this, she pressed on. "Do you truly want to take revenge on those who bullied you?" Kudo hesitated. "There are other ways to get revenge on those people," he said, trying to regain control. Tomotada raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "If that's the case, how do you intend to carry out your revenge?" As she observed him, he realized he didn't know what to do. He could change his tactics, but that would come at a cost. The brutal nature of reality hit him. There was no revenge without risk. It was impossible for him to be so naive as not to know this, and he felt completely disappointed. The girl, however, seemed to sympathize. She reminded him that just the day before he had been on the verge of taking his own life. "If you were strong enough to stand on that ledge," she said, her tone encouraging, "this situation is no big deal. Who knows, maybe you lacked the courage to carry out what you had planned yesterday." Agitated, he insisted, "I'm determined to follow through with my plan." The girl smiled with satisfaction. "If you're truly determined, this situation won't be difficult at all. I've even created an account and written the post for you. All you need to do is press the button to upload the content." He listened, intrigued yet apprehensive. The video description was peculiar. They would pretend the bully was blatantly confessing to the crime. "This is a much more secure way to draw justice to this cause," she explained. "That single video will capture everyone's attention. The account is new, but by adding viral hashtags, it will be easy to make the content popular. Your video of humiliation will set the internet ablaze, and all we need to do after that is let society deliver its justice." Worried, he imagined the potential fallout. "This could cause numerous problems for my school," he said, anxiety creeping into his voice. The girl reminded him, "The school doesn't care about you. You're the only person capable of saving yourself. It doesn't make sense to worry about adults who aren't willing to help you. If you don't do this, you'll end up miserable for the rest of your life, and that's not the outcome you want." Trying to comfort him, she added, "It's okay. You just need to do as I instruct and you'll surely be happy. Besides, I'll always be here to protect you." With the phone in his hand, he hesitated for a moment before posting. With a single click, the video now belonged to the internet. At first, he thought no one had noticed. Surely no one would pay attention to an account with no followers. However, as seconds passed, reactions began pouring in. Many people started reacting to his post, and numerous new followers began joining. People began expressing outrage at the bully's behavior. He was so shocked by the immediacy of it all that he dropped his phone on the floor behind him. The girl congratulated him, saying he had done a great job. She picked up the phone from the floor and said all they needed to do now was wait, so it was better to head back to class. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the school, a student ran up to the bully with alarming news. The bully had no idea what was happening, so his classmate urged him to check the class group. Even he found it hard to believe what he was seeing. "It's just a post on the internet," he scoffed. "It's not a big deal. Soon people will forget about it and no one will find our school. Even if they did, no one would have the courage to show up here." As he walked away, a strange guy asked, "Are you sure no one would really have the courage?" It didn't seem like it, but that guy was a streamer who specialized in this kind of content. The bully, however, didn't understand what that meant. He didn't even know there was a niche for this on the internet. The guy may not have looked like much, but he had 5,000 followers. The jerk was impressed. That really seemed pretty cool. Today, the boy was going to be a guest in one of his live streams. Still confused about what was happening, the jerk felt uncomfortable with the approach. In a moment of frustration, he slapped the guy across the face. The streamer turned to his phone, eyes wide, and asked if people had seen that. "Did you just hit me?" he exclaimed. The jerk stammered that it was an accident, but the streamer wasn't buying it. "Is that really the excuse you're going to use? Is that what you tell your victims too?" The jerk tried to defend himself, saying they were just joking around. The streamer looked back at his phone, addressing his audience. "This guy thinks it's just a joke?" he said incredulously. "Without a doubt, he's a piece of trash. And among pieces of trash, he's the worst. It's people like him who ruin the society we live in." With that, the streamer declared he had to teach the jerk a lesson. Judgment came quickly as he started beating up the bully. The jerk cried out in pain after being hit, still having the audacity to ask why he was being beaten. Unfortunately, the live stream got blurry because the guy was too busy hitting the jerk while holding the camera, but he still managed to ask his audience if they saw what had happened. Some viewers commented that hitting the jerk was going too far, but the streamer defended himself. "I didn't hit him, he's wearing the channel's badge. Everyone who wears it consents to be on the stream." In the end, he claimed it was all an act and that the jerk was exceptional at playing his role. Looking at his phone, he assured his audience that no one had actually gotten hurt. A discussion started among viewers, with some defending the streamer, saying he only retaliated against the jerk's aggression. Meanwhile, the piece of trash continued standing there in the background, bewildered and humiliated. The streamer had one last question for the jerk. "Why did you bully that boy?" The jerk took a moment to respond, thinking hard about what had really motivated him to do that. He remembered seeing Kudo walking with perfect posture, thinking he seemed like a really cool guy. That's why he had approached him. He recalled overhearing some girls talking about Kudo as he entered, and thought Kudo must be very popular. By distracting him, he had caused Kudo to step in dog poop. It was unfortunate because Kudo had seemed to be wearing new sneakers. Nearby, two girls approached the jerk, and the first thing he said about Kudo was that he had stepped in dog poop. The girls immediately told him to stop teasing Kudo, insisting it wasn't funny at all. "It's like slipping on a banana peel," he retorted, trying to defend his joke. But the girls shot back that that kind of humor suited him, unfunny and immature. He claimed it was better for Kudo because now he had a funny story to tell. But Kudo was upset. He shrugged the jerk's hand off his shoulder and said, "It's not funny at all." At first, the jerk was left speechless, not liking the way Kudo looked at him. Then he tried to explain that what he really wanted was to be friends with Kudo, but the streamer didn't buy that narrative. "You're just playing the victim to avoid judgment," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "It's truly pathetic." With that, he wiped the front of his shoe on the jerk's face. A final humiliation. Back at school, Kudo heard what had happened. It seemed the jerk had been attacked during lunch, and students started talking about how it really had gone down. The school contacted the authorities, and the culprit had already been arrested as a result of the beating. The jerk needed medical attention, and the teacher told everyone to go home early that day. The class was abuzz with gossip about what had happened to him. Kudo began to realize the implications of the situation. The girl beside him thought this was a beneficial outcome for him, because with this incident, they had achieved their goal. From now on, there was no one left to bully him. But Kudo wasn't sure if this was the right decision. As they talked, the video continued spreading on the internet, and to be honest, he was completely terrified about it. But that wasn't the only thing he felt. The girl suggested that they skip school tomorrow and go out on a date instead. Completely enchanted, Kudo wanted to see what future she had in store for him. He went back home, unable to stop thinking about the fact that she had asked him out. Because of that, he couldn't sleep a minute. He wondered if he had even combed his hair and realized he was getting anxious. He was just an ordinary guy, yet this beautiful girl had decided to go out with him. The thought made his heart race. She was happy to see him and asked why he was wearing his school uniform. He explained that his parents would know if he went out in other clothes, so he planned to change in the bathroom. She understood and said he could change now. Once in the bathroom, he had no idea what to do. He felt completely content at that moment, but a nagging thought lingered. He was certain she must be dangerous in some way. Yet she was too beautiful, and like any guy, he had a weakness for gorgeous women. When he returned to her, he saw a few guys trying to flirt with her. As soon as she noticed Kudo approaching, she walked over to him with a smile. "You took quite a while," she said playfully. The guys backed off, assuming she had a boyfriend. Once together, Tomada asked if they could go to the aquarium. As they entered, Kudo felt a wave of excitement. Everything was so beautiful, it almost felt like a dream. Tomada found the marine animals fascinating, her eyes lighting up at the whale shark. They spent the day taking photos and observing all sorts of creatures. Even the dessert they ordered was beautifully presented. Sitting at the table, Tomada asked if Kudo was enjoying himself. "I am," he replied, and it was nice to see her smile at his response. Once seated, he gathered the courage to ask why she had invited him on this date. She explained that she did it with his future in mind. At first, he didn't understand how this outing related to his future, but she elaborated. "In the future, you'll want to fall in love and go on dates. This date is an introductory lesson to teach you how to shape your behavior and present yourself as someone interesting. You need some experience, otherwise you might ruin your first real date, so today is just practice." Intrigued, Kudo asked if she would like to date him, but before he could finish, she said no. More directly, she explained that she didn't even like him that way. She said no. More directly, she explained that she didn't even like him that way. After all, they barely knew each other, and she wasn't interested in romance at all. "All I want is to keep playing with my puppets," she said. "I'm here to pull the strings and guide you toward a happy life. To me, you're just a puppet. Nothing more, nothing less." Despite her bluntness, they continued to enjoy the day, taking photos and having fun until it was time to say goodbye. She thanked him for the pleasant day and asked if he'd be able to get home on time. Since it wasn't very late, he assured her it wouldn't be a problem. Knowing that, she finally said goodbye, mentioning that she would turn the photos from that day into an album. Kudo felt grateful for the memories they had created together. Just then, a familiar vibrating sound from his phone broke the moment. It was his father calling. When he answered, he was met with a torrent of complaints. His father had found out he had skipped school. The teacher had just called him, leaving Kudo feeling humiliated. His father's voice was harsh as he told him not to bother coming home, wishing he would die on his way back. Only a despicable father could say something like that to his own child. This was one of the reasons Kudo hated talking to him. His father never thought about the impact of his words. Knowing he was in trouble now, Tamada asked if he was okay. She apologized, saying it was her fault for making him skip school that day. "But it's fine," he replied, trying to brush it off. He had accepted the invitation, knowing the risks involved. Intrigued, she asked if he didn't get along with his family. "Not at all," he admitted. "We barely look each other in the eye." She apologized for bringing it up, saying people should appreciate their families. However, she added that he wasn't obligated to do so. Looking at him, it was clear how much this situation hurt him. No matter who it is, telling someone to die is always cruel. If Kudo didn't like his family, Tamada suggested he ran away. "You could come with me if you wanted," she offered casually. But for someone who didn't even like him that way, he thought it was strange for her to say such things. He couldn't just start depending on her. "That's out of context," she replied, sensing his hesitation. "Since I have no feelings for you, I have no expectations, whether physical or romantic. In other words, I have no ulterior motives. The only thing I want is to save you. Isn't that good enough?" As her words sank in, Kudo's memory started to blur. It was that day when everything changed. It was exactly on that day that he felt he had fallen in love with her. That was the day he realized he had fallen in love with her. The feeling came over him clearly, and he knew his emotions were real. Tomotada suggested they head home, adding that they should stop at a convenience store for snacks and have a little party. "Do you like movies?" she asked. "I rent them every week." Kudo said he liked them too, and they went to the store to buy what they needed. As they walked, Kudo wanted to thank Tomotada for everything, but she brushed it off, saying she hadn't done anything special. She also mentioned that using her family name didn't sound friendly, so he should call her by her first name. This flustered Kudo. She tried to get him to say it, but he couldn't. Embarrassed, he apologized. He then thanked her for paying for their snacks, since they were able to buy plenty. Pointing to a building, she said, "I live here." Kudo saw it was large and clearly high-end. She opened the door and invited him in. "This is a very spacious apartment," Kudo remarked. He asked about her parents, but she said they weren't there. She lived in the apartment completely alone, she added. Sitting on the sofa, she asked him to keep her company. "Do you have a movie preference?" she inquired. Kudo said anything was fine, but there was one film he'd heard was good and was curious about. They agreed to watch it. Sitting on the couch, Kudo felt a deep sense of peace. He wished intensely that the moment could last forever. But then his phone rang. It was his dad. Tomotada noticed his expression change and said, "It's okay, you should answer it." Stepping outside, Kudo hesitated, then answered, wanting to know what his father wanted. After all, he was still his dad and might be genuinely worried. Kudo told him he was at a friend's house and had permission to stay the night. This only made his father angrier. "You need to come home immediately," he ordered, his voice rising. "I know you're at a girl's house. Boys like you are too naive." He added that he was on his way to pick Kudo up. This frustrated Kudo even more. His dad had him attacked and now he didn't want to go home at all. Tomotada opened the door and asked if he was okay. She had overheard and apologized, noting his dad tended to talk loudly. "Since he's upset, it might be better for you to go home," she suggested. But then she remembered he didn't need to leave, since his dad said he would come. They might as well wait for his arrival, she concluded. To Kudo's dismay, his dad arrived quickly. He was already outside, demanding Kudo come down immediately. "I tracked you using your phone's GPS," he shouted. The realization that there was an app spying on him made Kudo angrier. Tomotada asked if they should head down, but Kudo noticed an envelope in her hands. "I'll convince your father that you don't need to go home," she said confidently. Kudo didn't understand, but she told him to stay at the entrance and not disobey her. His father, with no manners, called her a bitch who had seduced his son, saying she even dressed like one. Kudo imagined this wouldn't end well. Not knowing what his father was capable of, he thought he should go outside too. As soon as his father saw him, he declared Kudo was going home with him. In response, Tomotada handed the man the envelope. It was full of money prepared for emergencies like this. "Take the money and leave Kudo with me," she said firmly. "Take the money and leave Kudo with me," she said firmly. Kudo was confused, thinking it must be a prank. "It's not a prank," she insisted, asking if 1 million wasn't enough. "You're the kind of father no mother would give up her child for, especially not for dirty money." His father scoffed, saying she must have earned that money by selling her body, since she looked the type. Kudo tried to ask his father to stop, but she continued. "Think of other ways to make money," she suggested. "But you probably believe a woman can only get money that way. You're truly an uncreative and pitiful man. With you as a father, Kudo will never have a happy life." Irritated, his father shot back, "It's not up to you to decide that." But she wasn't finished. "Why did you tell your son to die?" she asked, her voice steady. The man replied, "I did it for his own good. When I was his age, my bosses used to say the same thing. Weak people have no place in this world. They were tough on me, so I could learn that too." She laughed after hearing this, and Kudo could see the disbelief in her eyes. His father didn't understand the impact of his words. "What's so funny?" Kudo's father snapped, his anger palpable. She answered, "It's an utterly ridiculous story. It only shows that you can't be bothered to care about your son. In fact, you probably don't care about him at all. Why would you tell your son to die?" she asked, her voice steady. The man replied, "People don't just die because someone tells them to. Contrary to what you think, they absolutely do, and very easily," she shot back, "especially when the person saying it is their parent. It's impossible for you not to know how your son feels. After all, you're Kudo's father." Convinced, the man insisted he did know how the boy had been feeling. "Even so, I call him a coward. That's why I'm teaching him to be a man." She countered, "You have the wrong impression. Words alone don't count as education. After talking to you, I finally understand. You're completely unnecessary for Kudo's happiness. I will be the one responsible for it." The man only grew angrier, saying she didn't know anything. "Are you planning to marry my son?" he asked incredulously. "Having a peaceful family to raise a child in is the first step to a happy life. To ensure he has such a future, I will help Kudo boost his popularity, intelligence, achievements, and more. But I won't be the one to build a family with him. I will simply act as his control tower. From this day forward, I will show Kudo how to be happy under my guidance." I will act as his control tower. From today, I will show Kudo how to be happy. This bold statement left them both thinking. To Kudo's father, it was a joke. She was just a child. "If you can really do that, prove it now," he challenged. Taking her phone, Tamada said she wouldn't waste time. She called her father about something they had discussed. "Do it immediately," she instructed, then hung up. The man didn't understand until his own phone rang. It was the company president. Tamada told him to answer. It must be urgent. He picked up, and the person on the other end apologized for the sudden call. They thanked him for his work, but said they had to let him go. "We are sorry for this decision," they said. "Please don't hold a grudge. We have families too." When the call ended, Kudo's father looked at Tamada. His face showed disbelief and anger. "Did you do this?" "Yes," she replied calmly. "I asked my father to do it." "Do you know the Tamada Real Estate Group?" He did. That company had bought his business. Her father led it. "So you asked your father to fire me?" he asked, stunned. Tamada nodded. "I wouldn't mind asking him to rehire you, but if you stay resistant, I will make sure you can't work anywhere else." Frustrated, Kudo's father accused her of joking. She said it was no bluff. "Now you decide what to do," she said seriously. "The fact is, you're fired. As a grown man, you know the right choice." He sank to the floor in disappointment, seeing no other way. Tamada held out the envelope. He snatched it, furious. It seemed he had made his decision. Turning to Kudo, she said, "I removed an obstacle. Now we can go back to watching the movie peacefully." She took his arm and hurried him along. Back in the apartment, Kudo was still in shock. "I only did it because you insisted," he said, trying to make sense of it all. Now he wanted to know what Kudo's relationship with her was. It wasn't for him to dwell on, so he decided to ask the boy directly. Kudo felt a huge burden lift off his shoulders. With Tamada's intervention, he wouldn't have to deal with his father anymore. But at the same time, he wasn't sure if this was the right decision. He was still a minor, and leaving home was never a good idea. Even so, he felt a great deal of gratitude toward her and was thankful to have a place to stay. Yet, uncertainty nagged at him, especially since he had cut ties with everyone in his life. Those people were still his family, and he couldn't help but wonder what his mother would say when she found out. She probably wouldn't say anything, as she always followed behind his father. Noticing he seemed deep in thought, Tamada asked if something was wrong. "Are you worried about what just happened?" she inquired. "If that's the case, I won't judge you. After all, you've just been separated from your family." She assured him everything would be fine. "I promise to make you happy," she swore. Kudo wanted to know why she always acted that way. The movie finally ended, and she said it had been a lot of fun. Kudo agreed, admitting he had been deeply moved by the story. The final scene had been great, but Tamada thought it was bordering on cliché. She suggested another movie to watch next, and Kudo couldn't believe they were going to watch a second film. "Do you not want to?" she asked, a teasing glint in her eye. "No, I would actually love to," he replied, feeling a rush of excitement. They ended up watching a romance movie, a classic choice for anyone having a date at home. Tamada told him that all of this would serve as practice for his future. Kudo didn't believe something like that could happen to him, but for now, she just wanted them to enjoy the movie. Usually, he didn't watch this type of film, so he felt a bit nervous. Then came a kissing scene on the screen that lasted much longer than he expected. It was definitely way too embarrassing for Kudo. That was when Tamada touched his hand, breaking the tension. In moments like this, it's expected that you hold the hand of the person watching with you, she said, demonstrating how it should be done. Taking advantage of their proximity, she suggested they kiss too. But that was too much for him. "We can't do that under any circumstances," he said, his face flushing. Tomato looked intrigued, as if trying to decipher his reaction. "You don't want to kiss me?" she asked, her tone playful. The truth was, he would like to, but he couldn't admit that. "That's exactly why we shouldn't try," he replied, feeling flustered. "You should have more self-respect." She laughed lightly, finding his reasoning nonsensical. "I wouldn't mind kissing you," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But that's exactly the problem. It would make me have expectations, and you shouldn't do that to someone you just rejected." Tomato found this odd, since he had never confessed to her. "When we were at the aquarium, you said you didn't like me," he reminded her. "I'm just defining our positions." This left him confused. Now she understood why he felt rejected. "You're truly a headache sometimes," he said, exasperated. "If two people aren't in a relationship, they shouldn't kiss so casually. No matter how much you want me to be happy, you should at least have some morals." "Fine," she said. "I won't kiss you anymore. But thinking about your future, I still wish for you to gain some romantic experience." Hearing that, Kudo was speechless. Then she proposed that tomorrow at school they should find him a girlfriend. "Let's get straight to the point," she said enthusiastically. "You should write your own romantic comedy." She wanted to know if there was a girl he was interested in. The only thought that came to his mind was her. Without revealing that, he said, "I don't have anyone in mind. I've been bullied for so long that I haven't had time to make friends, let alone develop feelings for anyone." Knowing this, Tomato realized they now had a starting point. "Things aren't that simple," Kudo insisted, but she assured him he shouldn't worry. "You don't have an unattractive face. It's only a matter of time before you get closer to a girl." He wasn't sure if that was a compliment. She continued, "Look over there." She pointed to a girl erasing the board who seemed to be struggling. "Why don't you go help her? Maybe that way you can become her hero." Doing something just because someone told him to made Kudo feel strange. He approached the girl, asking if she was okay and needed help. In the end, he erased the board for her, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Once finished, she thanked him with great joy. "It was no trouble at all," he replied with a smile. "If you ever need help again, just ask me." The other girl who had been watching praised him. "You did well. It's only a matter of time before you become popular." Kudo shook his head, insisting it wasn't that easy. "You're right," she said. "Being kind is extremely important and something people often undervalue. Kindness is an aspect of life that's often overlooked by those trying to flirt." Kindness is important and often undervalued. It's an aspect of life sometimes overlooked. Judging by her face, she appreciated that small gesture. Kudo didn't fully understand what she meant about writing his own romantic comedy, but he felt warmth from the interaction. As he cleaned the hallway floor, someone called his name. It was the same girl he had helped earlier. She approached just to thank him for his assistance. When he took a while to respond, she reminded him, "You helped clean the blackboard." Kudo replied, "It was no problem at all." She didn't mean to come all the way just to thank him, but she disagreed. "There's something I wanted to say, though it might seem sudden," she began, then became too embarrassed to continue. "I'm sorry," she said, blushing. "I accidentally bit my tongue." What she really wanted to ask was if he would like to walk her home. This startled him. It would be just the two of them. She quickly added, "Don't take it the wrong way. It's just to get some donuts. A new shop opened near the station and I don't have any friends to go with me." She explained she was very shy. Earlier, Kudo had told her she could ask for help if needed. With tears in her eyes, she asked if his silence meant a refusal. He quickly assured her it didn't. "I would gladly accompany you," he said, feeling a rush of excitement. "Thank you," she said happily. "Let's meet after school." As she left, Tomata appeared, teasing him about managing to get a date. "But you absolutely can't tell her you're living with another girl." Of course, Kudo wouldn't say that, but he didn't know how to handle the situation. It felt like he was caught in a kind of fake love triangle, and doing this made him feel guilty. Then he remembered Tomata didn't have any feelings for him. He needed to let go of her as soon as possible. He didn't know what the future held, but it was important for him to make friends and expand his horizons. Before, that had been completely impossible due to excessive bullying. Finally, he could enjoy what life had to offer. As he was about to leave, Tomata had one more request. "Even if you go on the date, I want to hear all about it," she said, handing him a pen that was actually a disguised microphone. "You'll also need to wear these earphones," she added, revealing they were listening devices so she could tell him what to say. "That way, you can follow my instructions even if we're apart. Just remember, don't try anything funny."